Hey there everyone, this is Michael Duggal, your Greater Toronto Area real estate resource, and I'm very excited to share with you a lot of data that we have collected from this interesting start to 2026. We're going to talk about the average price and how it's changed, what we're seeing in the market, as well as some changes by the Bank of Canada and different incentives that are provided. So this can better help you with your decision making. Of course, if you are considering buying or selling, then make sure to call me. First, let's take a close look into the average price. So we can see that the average price reported in February 2026 was $1,030,000. And although the numbers are lower year over year, we can see that prices have actually slightly increased from January. And what we're seeing is the condo apartment sector specifically over the past 6 months has really come down in value. But for freehold properties, of course, it's going to depend on the property style and depend on the location. So we can see here, these are the condo apartments specifically, and it's just on this downward trajectory. So the major question is, who are buying these condos right now, because that market was fueled for many years by the investors. And now that investors are a bit cautious when it comes to not only buying condos, but also buying real estate in Canada, we're seeing that the supply just keeps on increasing. So they're saying home sales dropped to a multi-year low in February, down 6.4% year over year, while the home prices fell 7.9% year over year. But condos, they came down more so. They came down 9.5% over that period, now sitting roughly 25% below their early 2022 peak. Economist Robert Kavchich says the condo market is well in recession. And they further say the Toronto condo market is filled with supply that nobody wants. And this was a really neat tool that I came across, because what they do is they compare a specific area versus all of Ontario. So we can see here, the blue line represents Toronto, and then this orange line here represents Ontario. And Toronto has more so seen this fluctuation, whereas we look at specific areas, like let's take a look at Brampton. It's just been on this, again, downward trajectory. And same can be said with Mississauga. There's many homeowners that have gone through multiple price corrections, and their listings still are not, unfortunately, selling. Some areas, surprisingly, they've actually seen a price increase. Aurora's up 5.8%. Georgina's slightly up. Pickering has been stable year over year. King City down 0.7%. Vaughan down 0.9%. Richmond Hill down 1%. That's not too bad. Look at Markham down 5%, as well as Toronto. Brampton down about 7%. Ajax down around 8%. Milton down 11%. Oakville, that's a surprise, down 12%, as well as Mississauga. Halton Hills down 12%. Newmarket is down 14%, and Caledon is down 35%. And this Financial Post article reads, why it could be the right time to walk away from your real estate. And of course, what they're referring to are the new construction properties that were purchased over the past few years, because many of these purchasers, they bought at prices which were hundreds of thousands of dollars more than what those units would sell for now. However, they've probably put down a deposit. They've probably made multiple payments towards that project. So it's a very difficult decision for them to make. Do they just walk away and forfeit whatever money they put forward to for the properties, or should they proceed with the transaction? At the same time, maybe they can't qualify for a mortgage to secure that property. Maybe they need to sell their existing property in order to purchase that property, which they had pre-construction. See, there's a lot of variables here into why these purchasers may go ahead with their transaction, or they may want to walk away. What we're taking a look at here is each month and whether or not it was a buyer's market, more favorable to buyers, a seller's market, or a balanced market. So this was 2025. We can see it was a balance. It was a buyer's market until it reached November. We saw a balanced market and actually leaned into a seller's market just in the month of December. And the reason that happened was because there was limited inventory for the amount of purchasers that were out there. But since then, we've seen that we've transitioned more into this buyer's market, where there's not enough buyers for the supply that's on the market currently. And here's how the average prices changed across the city of Toronto. We can see single family homes down just about 8% year over year. Townhouses down 9%. Condo apartments down about 25%. Rent is stable year over year. But if we look at the month over month change, single family homes are up, townhouses are up, condo apartments are down, and rent surprisingly is down, with the benchmark rent now at $2,482 per month. How the interest rates have changed or not changed over the past year or so. We can see that March 18th, there was an announcement made by the Bank of Canada, but that announcement was nor positive or negative. It was that the rates were going to stay steady with the target rate at 2.25. And similarly in January and December, that's what the announcements were made. And the Bank of Canada says that they're holding the interest rates as the Iran war rattles the global economies. And they made mention of oil prices spiking and this risks higher prices for fuel and just about everything else. The Bank of Canada said in a statement that the war has heightened the risks to the global economy. Let's see just how much this deters investors from getting back into the real estate market here in the city of Toronto. But one positive change we've seen that's been put forward by the federal government is that the first-time buyers can now save more money on new homes, as they've announced the first-time home buyers GST rebate, which is now available. So what this means was before, buyers would have to have an extra 5% to put forward towards their new construction homes. They no longer have to have that 5%, and this can make it a lot easier for them, because when it comes to closing on one of these pre-construction homes, buyers realize last minute, like, ouch, they have to pay tax, and sometimes they don't have that money spare and they have to scramble to get it. But thanks to this rebate, it will help buyers feel a little bit more ease during that time when they're going ahead with the closing. And they've actually backdated it, so they mentioned if they entered into an agreement to purchase a new home after March 20th, 2025, then they're going to be eligible. And you need to submit a form to acquire this rebate. If you want help finding that form, make sure to reach out to me. I'll happily send it to you. And if you are considering buying or selling, make sure to call me. I'll be happy to help you out. And if you're looking for a great real estate brokerage with the fantastic training, support, and collaboration, make sure to reach out to me to learn more about eXp Realty. And I look forward to seeing you next time.